Are you bored of your traditional MPVs? Are you tired of looking up at the roof and seeing just a roof? Are you tired of paying more and getting less? If you said yes to any of those answers, then we have the 3 best alternatives on this test today. Starting with Tata's Discovery Sport, the legendary Safari known for its all-wheel drive, which it currently does not have. The second is Creta Pro Max Plus, called the Alcazar. Why is it called the Alcazar? Because it's a big Spanish castle and a bigger version of the Creta. And finally, the XUV700, whose feature list is not as long as its waiting period. So let's start by critiquing the way they look. With the Tata Safari first up, I think it's aged beautifully, but it has aged. I mean, the similarity of the Harrier, I think I'm done with. We're waiting for Tata's new facelift, but what I love are those 17-inch alloy wheels, really smart looking, and the rear, which is one of the most elegant that Tata has executed so far. The next up is the XUV700, and those cheetah lights, they actually look good in person. They might be too bold looking, but on the road, in fact, it's quite iconic. The side handles, my favorite is these seamless door handles, which kind of like open up. Overall, I would call it organically reinvented XUV500. And finally, we have the Alcazar. What I love is the gunmetal accents, which give it a more premium upmarket look compared to its smaller sister, the Creta. Those alloy wheels again are very smartly finished. And finally, it might look the most compact of the segment, but it's got the longest wheelbase. So let's find out on how they feel on the inside. Coming to the second row passenger comfort, the XUV700 has the widest cabin. It's got great under-thigh support, good knee room, good headroom, especially with that panoramic sunroof above me. I did miss the sunblinds actually in this particular car. The Safari, with the captain seat option that we got to sample, felt even more airy, more comfortable, more secure, and definitely as spacious, if not more, than the XUV700. The version of the Alcazar that we sampled was the 7-seater version and not the captain seat version. It was comfortable, the most easy to get in because of the low height, but it did lack the side bolstering on the left and the right passenger. The sunblinds did add a lot of convenience, and the ambient lighting also added to the drama in the evening. So the XUV700 is the most youthful of the lot, like a young professional commuting to the daily 9 to 5 in style, yet finding time out for the late night club hopping with friends. Imagine casual formals, more like polo shirts with chinos. And the most intimidating of the trio has to be the butch, muscular Safari. With its go anywhere, do whatever attitude, it's surely made for things you'd hardly do on weekdays. Here, you can imagine yourself wearing cargo pants and leather jackets and taking a detour over terrain you normally wouldn't set your eyes upon. The Alcazar, on the other hand, is an easy, friendly, and more family-like character. Surely, it's got more bling to spice up any corporate environment, and its smart, easygoing nature is what attracts you. More like proper formals in a 3-piece well-fitted suit. Desirable, at the same time, reliable. On the practicality front, it's actually the XUV700 and the Alcazar who have the most meaningful boot space with all 3 rows up, almost between 180 to 200 litres. The Safari, on the other hand, hardly has any space even for a cabin luggage to be stored properly in its boot. Step inside the XUV700 and the seat moves out of the way to aid ingress and comes back to my original driving position. I like the position, it's quite high, the sense of space is really good. I've got an adjustable armrest, the steering wheel is allowing me to do rake and reach adjustment, but it's really hard, typical Mahindra. But what's not typical Mahindra is the way the interior is designed. This is straight from a Mercedes. The powered seats on the right, mainly on the driver's seat, is straight off from a Mercedes, much higher, overall really feels out there. I think one of the best in this class. So out on the open road, this is a car that will surprise you with its power delivery. So what we're driving is the 182 bhp, 450 Nm of torque, diesel-powered M-Hawk 2.2 litre engine. This is Mahindra's latest and greatest, I think, what they've made in the diesel segment. Power on tap is good. Power delivery is seamless. I wish the steering, as it weighs up gradually, as speed builds up, there is some element of vagueness in the transition from very easy, very soft to move about to the way it goes up, straight up. The power delivery, the way it's designed, seems very, very smooth and seamless. It does not have that sense of urgency, but it does understand when you require that urgent delivery of power, and I'm hitting triple-digit speeds almost in no time. At city speeds, the seat feels a good mix, a good balance between the Alcazar and the Safari. It's quite forgiving in terms of the side bolstering is not very firm. Large occupants will feel at home in this car. And finally, my favorite is when you put on the indicators, right and left, you have this little screen that pops up and shows me a camera feed of what's happening right behind me on the right. On the left, it shows me what's happening on the left. So I don't need to take my eyes off and look at the video view mirrors, but it's right there. The steering feels really light, especially in these city speeds and low speeds, and it gradually transitions to this kind of stiff, heavy, well-weighted feeling. But in the transition, there is some vagueness which you feel, I wish that could have been sorted by Mahindra. But the main thing that may sway a decision to the XUV is simply the technology that it packs. It gets a host of advanced driving aids built into the system, starting from automatic braking, emergency braking, auto collision warning, and one of my favorites, I put on the indicator on the front screen. It shows me a camera feed that what's happening on the right lane. Should I go right now or should I wait for the car to pass me? It's just convenience. It's beautifully done. And talking about NVH levels, so at low speeds, apart from the road noise and some amount of diesel clatter, this is quite a comfortable cabin to be in, fairly soundproof, not a lot of intrusion from outside. Now this engine and gearbox setup is totally designed for the spirited driving. This is the most powerful car on test. Torque levels are much higher than the Safari. Power delivery is more seamless. In terms of ride and handling, over broken roads, it's a good balance between a slightly stiffer Safari and a more softer setup on the Alcazar. It's the turn of the Safari, and well, I'm greeted by a sea of black here. Like, everything feels a little dark up front, beige at the bottom, but it feels old. I don't know why. I mean, it feels chunky and solid, but this feels old for sure. And like, the screen feels could have been bigger. I've got this part speedo and part digital screen. Everything it feels nice, expansive. Well, I'm seated quite high up, but on the whole, I think the XUV was better than this one. I like the seating position on this car. It is really, really nice up. I wish the underthigh support was a little bit better. The front seat. Oh yeah, the steering feels nice and heavy at low speeds. Almost like an armchair. I'm sitting in an armchair being lounged on something high set. Interior quality, I wish there was a little more leather on the dash, which gave that slightly premium edge. Visibility is great. It's got the auto mirror, which the XUV didn't have. I don't know why Tata's given us an analog speedometer and a digital tachometer. Should have been the other way around, and I wish at this price point they just should have given the digital all-screen setup. The display of the infotainment is a little laggy, feels one generation older, but I think it does the job. And I must say, this definitely feels the most blunted at low speeds right now in this test. So while this looks and feels solid in the driving front, you know, one thing I did not understand is why did Tata give such a tiny armrest in such a big car, and it kind of shakes, you know, like you can... Not expected. I think you'll all agree, of course, the looks are subjective, but this car looks classy on the outside with that Harrier front and the stepped up rear. But the steering wheel, sorry to say, is an eyesore. I mean, I think this piece of plastic should be changed, should be updated with a modern design. This is the only thing that's out of place in this otherwise well built of sorts cabin. So out on the road, the Safari that we're driving is the 2-litre Cryotech diesel engine, pumping out 168 HP and 350 Nm of torque, if I'm not wrong. That's 100 Nm down on the XUV, and it shows, you know, like this is almost like a fat sprinter. It's not slow in any fashion, but it's not the most urgent in the way it delivers power. And overtaking, of course, like it reacts a little late. Like I press the accelerator, there's a second of a lag when the engine reacts in terms of my requirement of power. The steering feel is good, almost consistent across all speeds. Only downside, at really low speeds or at stationary levels, it is a good arm workout. Like my forearms, I think already I have become a little stronger after driving the Safari in the city. Notice? Yeah. On the note of the fat sprinter, this is green. Oh my God, the Wagoner pipped me. Do you hear that noise? It is really boomy. I mean, in terms of sound coming in, the engine is definitely some decibels higher than the XUV. Of course, much higher than the Alcazar. But road noise is limited. I mean, I would say the road noise is well controlled. It's only the engine sound that kind of lets this cabin's NVH levels down. So all the advanced technology that is built into the other two is kind of missing on this car. But despite being the most expensive on this test, it does miss out on some of the key features and the convenience features that the other two get. And I really wish Tata upgrades the car with those advanced technology and sort of infotainment system that we've come to expect of cars at this price point. But talking about features, the Alcazar does get ventilated seats. So does the Safari, but only on the Gold Edition, which Tata could not provide to us. But you get ventilated seats in the front as well as for the rear passengers. That is cool, Tata. For you audiophiles out there, one thing to note is the sound system. This JBL sound system is really nice. Deep bass notes, strong treble notes. Sounds really, really good. Finally, I'm in the Alcazar. First things to note is this cabin is the most compact of the segment, but definitely feels more upmarket. I think it's because of the choice of color, the sort of mocha brown, the piano black. I've got these lovely two screens in front of me. The seat, I mean, of note, is one of the most comfortable in this class. I think it's the most softly cushioned, good shoulder support. Overall, I think everything falls well to hand, and it's very familiar because of course, the underpinnings of the Creta. So start up the car, and I think I wish the beeps of these cars could have been a little more premium, the way they listen, I mean, the way they hear and the sound. AC is nice. I've got these beautiful twin instrument clusters. So this is definitely new compared to the Creta. I have an option of going through different displays, different styles. That's really nice. The armrest, I would say, is not adjustable, and sometimes because of your elbow hitting the air purifier controls, it kind of, like, you know, activates just by mistakenly on itself. So on the go, you realize that while you're driving the Alcazar, it feels pretty compact. You sit much lower, like in the Alcazar, like the way you sit in the Creta, because the chassis is actually the same. Visibility is nice, of course, from a lower seating position. You've got this new instrument cluster, which wasn't there before. Also to note, this is the oddball in this comparison, because not only is it a petrol-powered version that we're driving, it also is a manual transmission. So power to weight ratio, of course, is possibly close to the competition, but this is almost a 400 kilos lighter car than the Safari itself. It's not the fastest in this competition, but of course it is the smoothest given its petrol-powered nature, easy to drive, nimbleness, all of that. And if you're in a city where diesel cars are ostracized in 10 years, this is a worthy contender apart from the XUV700. What of course it does not have is all the ADAS features that the XUV in this segment is providing. Although one, which actually I think it does pretty well like the XUV, is the blind spot monitoring assistance. What's also to note is the fact that this is the car that comes with one of the easiest to navigate, easiest to use infotainment system. It's really crisp. It's got the functionality of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Of course, it's a wireless option now, which used to be a wired option on the Creta. Wireless charging, the lot, you've got it all. So unlike the XUV, this car did not give us the silent treatment. So in fact, it blasted us with, like bass-filled sound through the Bose audio system. It's an 8-speaker and a subwoofer system. Really nice, deep bassy notes. I mean, good enough for this segment. So after having spent a day with all these three cars, I've come to a conclusion. I love 7 seats. I love sky roofs. And the fact that these look cooler than your traditional MPV. But there is a fact. Good things come to those who wait, especially when it comes to the XUV700. Its waiting period ranges from 4 to 7 months. So if you're in the market for the perfect package of like space, all-wheel drive, good features, a modern Mahindra, this is a great bet. But if you're somebody who's kind of like an extended family, want a SUV that does 7 seats or 5+2, wants to use it as a city hauler, I think the Alcazar fits the bill really well. It's very easy to drive in the city and is the most car-like SUV in this segment. Finally, the Tata Safari. I mean, it is legendary, it is solid, it is reliable. Maybe it's gone long in the tooth. Tata needs a refreshment for this car. We're waiting for that, but in the meantime, if you're looking for something that can go anywhere, occasionally off the beaten path, the Safari is still a great bet. And finally, if you like this kind of content, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the TopGear India channel, and we look forward to more comments and more ideas from you on what we should do right here. Until then, take care and drive safe.